boyfriend's ex-girlfriend told the world that we broke up. She got the information from him. And now I feel as though I'm in a position where I have to give the story from my perspective, because the fact is there's two sides to every story, and it doesn't usually include the ex-girlfriend. Okay, so before I go into this, I also just want to talk about the concept of radical responsibility. This is something I'm really working on in my life. And every time something happens, I am emotional. I get in a fight with my sister or somebody upsets me. I try to take a moment, because I do believe that we call everything into our life. Everything that's showing up in front of us, how people respond to us, the chaos that ensues around us, we are inviting that into our world. This is a reflection of what we're putting out. So when things like this happen to me, which they've never have before, but like this flurry of press and everything, I had to take a moment and really ask myself, like, what am I putting out that's attracting this in my world? If we're not taking radical responsibility for how we feel, and our first reaction is to blame somebody else for our hurt, for our pain, which, by the way, is the human thing to do. It's very easy to fall into that trap. I have 2 toddlers. It's what we are wired to do. But if we want to grow and if we want to become more mature, empathetic people, we really can't take our pain when we see something in the news, when we hear something on someone's podcast, to turn it around and blame someone else for how you feel. The fact is, it's going to cause more harm to you, because you're not going to find peace. So this week, while I was mulling over what the hell I was going to say, I came across a quote by a man named Viktor Frankl, who was a neuroscientist and a psychiatrist. And yes, his last name's Frankl. And yes, it is ironic. And the quote goes, "Between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom." So like a million times a day, we're triggered by somebody cuts us off, somebody says something about us, and we feel the need to literally dump our emotions on that person. Like, it's that person's fault that I feel small right now, or it's that person's fault that I feel angry. It's that person's fault that, you know, if only they had done something a little differently, maybe I wouldn't feel this way. And this happened to me also because during the week before my sister's wedding, I was having feelings like this relationship probably isn't for me. He doesn't want to have kids. I didn't really want that door to be closed for me. I was exhausted. I'm bringing this nanny with me who I feel like I'm babysitting her too, traveling with my 2 kids. I show up at my mom's house. There's just chaos there. I feel so overwhelmed by the life that I have created for myself, which is my responsibility. I'm a single mom of 2 kids. I could be a victim and be like, oh, I'm a single mom of 2 kids. I have to support everything by myself, and I have to travel alone, and I have to do this and that, and poor me. Or I could be like, I'm actually awesome for being able to juggle this life. And I was falling into a victim mentality that whole week. And from being in that frame of mind, I did not prepare a speech for my sister's wedding. I was like, I'm going to wing it because I don't have time and everybody's annoying me and I'm annoyed with my relationship. I think I'm going to have to break up with him because I don't think it's the right one. And you know, when you're just like in that frame of mind where everything feels like it's just overwhelming and you're just pushing everything off. Like I was like, okay, I'll deal with my relationship after the wedding. I'll deal with getting more organized with work after the wedding. Right now, I'm just going to literally, I don't even know what I was doing during that time, trying to survive. It's all a blur. But I didn't have a speech prepared and I winged it. I tried my best to be like off the cuff and it was just a bad speech. Like it just wasn't good. And for the rest of the week after that, I was like, oh, well, it's because I was so busy or it's because, you know, it doesn't matter anyway. Who cares? Like she knows that I love her. But the thing is, it's like, I had to take responsibility for the fact that I did not organize my time well enough and there was nobody to blame other than me. I should have come up with a better speech. I didn't. And now I have to feel bad about that. But we also have to learn to forgive ourselves because nobody is perfect. So those are the things that I've just been grappling with. Nobody's perfect. We need to take responsibility for our shortcomings and we need to take responsibility for the feelings that we have in response to other people. Moving on, maybe you see your ex-boyfriend with somebody else. Maybe you hear from her podcast about dating. Maybe that doesn't make you feel good. Is your first reaction to point the finger and call out somebody else's actions? Or is it to be like, well, this is my reality right now. This is how I feel. And this is the bed that I made that I have to sleep in. So now that the dust has settled, I want to try to give a response very objectively with a timeline of how everything went down, because I really don't feel like anybody will understand unless you know the full story. So, hi, nice to meet you. My name is Aurora. I have a podcast. It's about health and wellness. I used to be a behavior analyst. I like to figure out what makes people tick, what makes people happy. I interview a lot of amazing people who are much smarter than I am, and I love to do it. In the beginning of each episode, for about 10 minutes, I talk about my personal life, my dating life for the most part. I became single. My divorce was in November. I have 2 little kids, and I'm going on dates now. The men that I date remain anonymous. Now, if you want to remain anonymous, but there's a chance that Dumois might find you somewhere, or you might end up in page 6, you got to let me know that you don't want to be spoken about at all. Otherwise, I can't really help it if you don't remain anonymous anymore. And I can't really take responsibility for the way people in your past might feel about the way I talk about my anonymous boyfriend on my podcast. If there's internet sleuths who are taking pieces of my podcast and sending it to, ex-girlfriends of guys that I'm dating, I can't really do anything about that. That's not my responsibility. Usually I always like to keep the men in my life anonymous. Unfortunately, because Paul told Bethany that he was breaking up with me, and then Bethany then went on her podcast and leaked it and then gave her reason behind our breakup, it put me in a position to have to respond. So here's the story. Paul found me because I was on the internet talking about a past relationship I had. Anonymously, of course. And he was like, oh, this girl's funny. I want to do a podcast with her about dating. We started talking via Zoom. He talked to my management team, and then we started doing Zooms, and then we recorded a pilot together, and we started to hit it off. He's such a nice guy. He's sweet. He's generous. He's a great dad. Super funny. We hit it off. And I still feel all these same ways about him. Just because we can't be together doesn't mean that I'm mad at him, or doesn't mean that I still think he's an amazing person. He is. We started falling for each other, and we were like, is this a meet cute? This is so cute. Let's make one of the storylines of our podcast our dating. We were pitching a podcast where the beeline story of our show was going to be our relationship and how it kind of came to be, because it was a cute little rom-com situation. Anyway, when we went out on our first date, somebody told Dumois, which I don't get on that. Am I even saying it right? Dumois? Yeah. Literally, headline was like B-list gossip. And I was like, B-list? Am I B-list? Somebody saw us in a restaurant and was like, Bravo stars X moves on quickly, blah, blah, blah. I was shocked because I was like, why would anybody care? According to him, they had broken up in December. So I was like, that's weird that Dumois would care that Paul now is going out on dates. This was in May. So that was the first time that his anonymity was kind of getting broken a little bit. I mean, nobody knew who he was still, but there were a few internet, sleuths who were starting to piece things together. At which point he said to me, don't talk about our sex life on the podcast, just in case maybe like my kids listen to it sometime down the road. He said to me, literally verbatim, I think my kids probably know that we have sex, but you probably shouldn't talk about our sex life just because, whose kids want to hear about them having sex. And he was right. And I was like, oh, damn, you're definitely right. I have little kids. Like, these are things that I'm learning. And I was like, 100%, I will not mention the sex thing anymore. And it was because I made kind of a joke, because I had this rule about no sex unless either a commitment or 3 months or something. And I made a joke that we had sex on the first date because we committed to each other on the first date. Okay. I get it though. I wouldn't want my kids hearing that about me either. So I was like, 100% I won't mention the sex thing anymore. But I did continue to talk about like, oh, I'm so excited about this new guy. He's so sweet. He got me this painting, blah, blah, blah. I don't even really remember what else I said. Just random nice things that he was doing and that I thought he was so cute. Never did I think that this would be heard by any exes or anybody who would be hurt by it. Like, my intention is never to hurt anybody else's feelings. So moving right along, here comes the week of my sister's wedding. So you got to know, Rhode Island is small. This was like a royal wedding in Rhode Island. Streets were closed. When they landed, like, Olivia posted that they had landed in TF Green Airport, and Ocean House was flooded with paparazzi. They were in the bushes. They were on the boats. They were all over the place. Paul and I had decided that he wasn't going to come to the wedding because it was new. I had a lot of responsibility with my kids there. He didn't know anybody yet. We were just like this. He didn't want to come and I didn't want him to come. And that was fine. And it was nothing personal. And when I interviewed Olivia on my podcast right before the wedding, she and I, in our, sisterly way, were kind of like, I was like, can I bring my new friend to your wedding? And she was like, the new guy who I've never met before. No, you don't bring new people to a wedding. You don't bring somebody that I've never met before to a wedding. It was nothing personal. It had nothing to do with him. And he did not even want to come to the wedding. Okay, fast forward. Now we're in Rhode Island. Paul comes and he meets everybody. We go to the beach one day and then we get photographed. I literally get photographed peeing in the ocean. Like, this was not what I wanted. I didn't have a spray tan. I didn't look good. Olivia got photographed. She was upset because she had an exclusivity with Vogue. So she's like hiding from the cameras because she didn't want to jeopardize that. But they did get photos of her and Christian on the beach. She was mad. She didn't have her spray tan yet. She said she didn't look good. She didn't have makeup on, whatever. We did not want to be photographed that day. I was literally peeing in the ocean. It just wasn't it wasn't the look I wanted to reveal. Anyway, at this point, Paul's kind of like, oh, what are the paparazzi doing here? Like, did somebody call them? And I'm like, no, definitely not. I wouldn't think so. Olivia has like an exclusive with Vogue. And also, knowing my sister, she would have got dressed up if she knew there were going to be photographs. Anyway, so the next day we all go out on a boat. We end up getting photographed, but this time only Paul and I get photographed. And the headline reads something like, Bravo star's ex moves on quickly with new girl, blah, blah, blah. It was like, they keep calling me Olivia's sister. They keep calling him this person's ex. It's like, we're not even our own people. We're just like puppets in this weird world. And he starts to get suspicious because he's like, why are only we getting photographed? He wasn't happy. He was like, who's calling the paparazzi? And I'm like, this is when my eyes kind of start to roll because my sister is famous. So is the guy that she's marrying. This wedding is in Rhode Island where, like, it doesn't take too much to be famous. Like, you're a big fish in a small pond. There were paparazzi everywhere. And, like, we don't need to take somebody's ex-boyfriend to try to, like, stir up buzz around the wedding. But it was a little weird because only Paul and I got in the news, not Olivia. But Christian actually wasn't on the boat with us that day. But you guys know me. I am a detective, and I know somebody who is a paparazzi in New York, and I asked him, is there any way we can find out where this photograph came from? And did somebody call? Then I'm starting to get suspicious. Like, did somebody call? Was it like, why wasn't Olivia in this and just us? And because, Paul wanted to be private. He didn't want to be in any of the news. Personally, I didn't really care. I thought that I get kind of, every time like something comes up, I'm like, oh, what did they come up with now? Because it's always so ridiculous. But I understand everybody has their feelings about it, whatever. He wanted to remain private. And it was kind of messed up that his car was photographed. Anyway, so I did some detective work. And I guess some of the photos, like there's a stamp that can tell you who took the photo. So the reason that they only ran a story about me and Paul and not about Olivia is because the story was better for the press that this guy is moving on with this girl while his ex is wearing a diamond on her engagement ring finger. I don't know. It was not the same diamond that he gave her, I don't think, but it was catchy to the press. And so they ran that. They put it on side by side with, look, and now he's with this girl, and they had a field day with it. Again, I don't really, like, it's all so silly, but it hurt people's feelings. So things actually get worse after this. Then the next day, my podcast episode airs where Olivia says that I'm not allowed to bring my new boyfriend to the wedding. So now that page 6 has already had this foundation laid down of this is Bethany over here wearing a diamond on her ring finger. This is Paul over here with this girl. And now this is the more famous sister who's saying he can't come to the wedding. So all of these articles start writing about running back's fiance says that sister's new boyfriend / Bravo star's ex-boyfriend cannot come to the wedding because he's new and she doesn't know him. Like, is this breaking news? Am I on the Truman Show? Is this real life? Am I being punked? What in the 8 degrees of Kevin Bacon is going on here? I was just floored. You know, all week I was like kind of butthurt about it because obviously like he broke up with me. So I'm like, man, like it says a lot about a person by the way they handle like a little bad press. But, you know, he's entitled to feel however he wants about it. A lot of people just don't like seeing their name in the headlines. That's, for me, like this is kind of like, it's part of the game. It's part of the world that I'm in. So I am prepared for it. And it doesn't bother me. There's been a lot of bad things written. I mean, we did a reality show and not everything that was said about us was great. I mean, I deal with trolls every day. So I get it. Like maybe I'm not the best gauge for what people are allowed to feel bad about. I wouldn't want to be in a headline of any article for not being invited to something. I understand that feels shitty. I asked my sister if I could bring my new boyfriend to the wedding and she said no because she didn't know him. It doesn't mean like no because he has bad breath or no because he's ugly or no because I hate him. Like she just didn't know him yet. And also he didn't want to come. Okay. So there was another glitch because in the podcast episode that I recorded with Olivia, we were joking and bantering, you know, doing our sister thing. And she said that he's the flavor of the month. And I said, don't say that. That's not fair. He's going to listen to that. And she's like, that has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with you. She was joking. And I actually did ask my producers if we could cut it. It was misunderstood and it ended up staying in the episode. And that was unfortunate. And I apologized to him because it wasn't nice for him to hear himself called the flavor of the month. And obviously he knows that that's not how I felt, but it is what Olivia said. And I apologize to him for that. He was not the flavor of the month. He was the flavor of 2 months, and I would have preferred it to go longer, but unfortunately, he dumped me. Then the next day he calls me and he says it's not working. And you know, I was disappointed. It never feels good to be broken up with, let's be honest. Like, it's a bruise to the ego. But there were things like, you know, he does not want any more kids. I do probably want more kids. Our communication style was just so different. I'm not really somebody who can give space when somebody feels hurt. Like I need to talk about things right away. You learn things about people as different situations present themselves. And that's why I feel like I finally learned my lesson that you can't jump into a relationship until you know somebody for at least a few months. And that's not saying like, oh, he revealed his true colors. No, like I wish I had waited. It's just like, we're not compatible. And I would have known that had I just let the relationship move at a logical pace. But no, that's not how I operate. You know, like it's true. Right off the bat, we were like, oh, we like each other so much. Like, let's make a show together. Let's move in together. Let's do all the things. Let's, you know, I introduce him to my kid as a friend. But still, it was too much too soon. And I felt that weight of like, this is too much too soon. That whole week leading up to the wedding, it was like piling on top of me, like knowing that like, I don't think this is right. I need to address it. And I was so overwhelmed. And I think that's one of the reasons why I literally forgot to write a speech for her wedding. But we'll get back to that. Okay. So, and then this is my favorite part of the whole story. Bethany comes out on her podcast saying that my actions cost me my relationship and announces that her ex-boyfriend and his new girlfriend have broken up. PSA, guys, it's not a good look to announce the breakup of your ex-boyfriend with his new girlfriend. That's why I felt the need to come on and just give my side of the story. That's how the things played out. Do I feel like I could have done things differently and better? I have a podcast called Barely Filtered. I share my relationships anonymously. If you don't want to be talked about, I will always respect that. You have to tell me I don't want to be spoken about. If you're dating me, especially if you came to me to do a podcast about dating in which one of the storylines is our relationship, you really got to be clear that you don't want to be spoken about, because it wasn't clear to me that he wanted to be anonymous. And honestly, he only wanted to be anonymous until it wasn't all roses and sunshine that were being spoken about him. There was a slightly off-kiltered line about, not being invited to a wedding because the sister didn't know him yet. If you can't handle that, if you can't take the heat, then get out of the kitchen, because you're in the wrong line of work. You're picking the wrong girls. You really are picking the wrong women, because I'm not going to keep my mouth shut and let somebody else tell my story for me. And we know she's not. So you got to take responsibility for the choices that you're making. I take responsibility for whatever backlash I'm probably going to get for saying all this. I take responsibility in advance for that. I take responsibility for the fact that something in my life is drawing all this chaos to me. I take responsibility for the fact that I didn't end the relationship when I knew it needed to be ended, and I let that weigh on me, and I let it interfere with other things that were more important in my life. Those are the things I take responsibility for. Am I sorry that my boyfriend's ex-girlfriend listened to my podcast episodes from weeks ago where I was gloating about being happy with this guy in a new relationship? I can't be sorry for that. Am I sorry that she felt bad and that it hurt her feelings? Sure. I never want to make anybody feel bad. When I first found out that was his ex-girlfriend, and I found out because I obviously looked at his Instagram and there were like all photos of her, like the whole thing. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I went to Fairfield University. I actually remember one time seeing her passing out her skinny girl margarita at a Whole Foods. And I was like, she's such a hustler. Like, that's so awesome. I actually always really liked her. And I said that to him. And, he only had nice things to say about her too. Nothing was meant to hurt anybody's feelings. I never thought that she was going to hear any of the things that I said. But again, I can't edit my podcast to the feelings of somebody that I'm dating's ex-girlfriend. And he was always supposed to remain anonymous. It didn't play out that way. And he made the choice to not be in a relationship with me because he wants a private life. And that's probably a good idea. So back to the radical responsibility. I've been thinking about this, and I'm wondering, why am I attracting these relationships that are, super hot and heavy for 2 months and then kind of blow up in my face in these very kind of dramatic ways? Like, the first guy ended up having a family, and then this guy, like, the way the press came about, and he was linked to the ex and the wedding. It was just like everything was just so dramatic. And the thing is, I am attracting what I'm putting out. So there's chaos happening here that obviously the universe is mirroring and showing me that I need to slow down if I'm going to find somebody who is going to last and who's going to be somebody that is not just going to fizzle out after a few months. And so, yeah, I'm back on the apps talking to a few guys. I should put in my bio that PSA, like, I should just give people like a form, be like, are you okay to be talked about anonymously? Check yes or no. Are you okay to be spoken about at all? Yes or no. Can I talk about these things without mentioning your name? Do you have an ex-girlfriend who happens to be in the media every other day? Are you going to be mad if you happen to get, entangled in that story? So, live and learn. Did I learn lessons? Bethany said that she thought that I've learned lessons. Thank you for sharing that with the world. I did learn lessons. I've learned, I'm learning every day how to be a better dater, and I'm pretty new at it. I mean, I just, my divorce just got finalized in November, so I am learning how to date, and it turns out you got to take it slow. Even if you feel like you're the exception to the rule, which I always do, you're not. And you got to take it slow. Very rarely, I think, does a relationship just like right off the bat, you click and it stays that way, and there aren't any red flags or any like yellow flags that come up at some point. I think maybe like 3 months I need to before I start being like, this is my boyfriend, right? Is 3 months good? 6 months.
3 months no dating, yes. And 6 months no boyfriend.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So she thinks I should take a complete hiatus from dating. The thing is, like, it's all in your recovery. I don't think I need to take a break, because when a relationship ends publicly, it doesn't usually end publicly the way mine did, where the ex-girlfriend announcing it to the world. But when it ends publicly, usually you can guess that, like, it ended internally well before. And that is true. That is what happened with us. We, about like a month in, we started to be like, wow, this is kind of hard. Like, you live in LA, I live in Boston. I was traveling every weekend to go see him, or he was coming there. And he doesn't want any more kids. I don't know if I want that door closed for me. There were little things like that. I'm not going to go into more of the details, but the compatibility started to wane after the first month. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't want him to come to the wedding, and he didn't want to come to the wedding. When you date Taylor Swift, you know that unless you guys end up together, you're probably going to get a song written about you. It comes with the territory. If you date me, I'm going to talk anonymously about you on my podcast called Barely Filtered about dating. I can't be sorry for that. I'm not sorry. I don't know. Sorry, not sorry. We're never, ever, ever getting back together unless you want to. Maybe you can call me. No, he hates me now. I'm open, Paul. I'm still open. I'm here for you, babe.